At dinner, my wife's sister sneered. How does it feel being the most useless one here? My wife and everyone else laughed, everyone except me. I just smiled and calmly replied, how does it feel knowing this useless one won't be paying your bills anymore? That moment, sitting surrounded by people who thought they knew me but didn't, was crystal clear. I was in Patricia's dining room, squeezed into one of those stiff antique chairs she insisted on keeping. The room screamed old Charleston money, the kind that whispers rather than shouts, but makes sure everyone knows it's there. Patricia's monthly family dinners were her way of reconnecting, or as she saw it, reminding everyone how much better her side was than wherever the rest of us came from. I'd been attending these for 8 years, ever since marrying Tessa, and honestly, I should have seen this coming. There I was, eating some overpriced beef, while Patricia rattled on about charity galas, dropping names like breadcrumbs for the socially ambitious. Everett, Tessa's dad, nursed his third bourbon, nodding as if everything was brilliant. Graham, the younger brother, babbled on, trying to sound important but saying nothing of value. But it was Bree, Tessa's older sister, who set the tone, perched in her designer dress that probably cost more than my mortgage, swirling her wine. With a smug smirk, she drew the room silent. So, Miles, she said, and everyone knew what was coming. How does it feel being the most useless one here? The words hung heavy. The room froze. The grandfather clock even seemed to stop ticking. Then laughter erupted. Tessa giggled nervously. Patricia covered her mouth politely. Everett chuckled subtly. Graham snorted. And even Ken, who owed me $15,000 from failed deals, joined in. But in that moment, time slowed for me. I saw the truth. 8 years of barely hidden contempt, laid bare. I should have been angry, furious even. Instead, I felt something rare: clarity. It was like being handed the key to a door I'd been too scared or naive to open. So I smiled, not the fake everything's fine smile I'd worn to these dinners for nearly a decade, but the smile of a man who'd realized he'd been playing a game where everyone else was cheating. I set down my fork, dabbed my mouth with a napkin. Manners, thanks to Patricia, and looked Bree dead in the eye. How does it feel? I said, voice steady and loud enough for all to hear, knowing this useless one won't be paying your bills anymore. The laughter died instantly. Bree's wine glass froze halfway to her lips. Color drained from her face. A pin could have dropped on that expensive rug. That night changed everything, not just that dinner, but everything afterward, because sometimes, when you're given the perfect chance to speak the truth, you take it. And when you stop being useful to people who think you're useless, you find out who you really are. Here's what's wild about people like Bree and her crew. They see only what they want to see, and the rest is invisible. To them, I was just a guy working from home in pajamas, probably gaming all day while their precious Tessa brought home the real money. They labeled me a deadbeat husband who got lucky marrying into their perfect little Charleston dynasty. If only they knew the truth. Well, they networked at country clubs and dropped names. I quietly built a business they couldn't even comprehend. Grant Consultancy might not sound glamorous, but there's serious money if you know what you're doing. I started Meridian Grant Solutions 10 years ago. After growing tired of watching nonprofits struggle through the confusing maze of federal and state funding, I had a knack for translating their needs into the jargon that gets grants approved. More importantly, I knew the system, the who, what, when, and how of funding. My home office might look modest, but from that little room overlooking our backyard, I've pulled in more money than most of them see in their best years. 6 figures, sometimes 7 when I land a big contract. Yet because I work in shorts and a t-shirt, don't drive a BMW, and prefer staying home over schmoozing, they all wrote me off as a charity case. And Tessa was happy to let them believe it. I bailed out Bree's failing yoga studio in 2019, $15,000 to cover back rent, another $10,000 for inventory and marketing. Family first, right? Did Bree thank me directly? Never. She thanked Tessa, posted social media praises about her support system, but to me, she was just furniture. Then there was Graham's DUI, $12,000 in legal fees and fines covered by me. No thanks. And the worst was Tessa's parents, who 3 times nearly lost their house to unpaid property taxes. Each time, I sent them money, $8,000, then $12,000, then $15,000. Not once did they ask where it came from. They just assumed Tessa had some secret fortune. I kept meticulous records, every transfer, every check, every bailout, not for revenge, but because that's what responsible adults do. Sitting at that table, listening to Bree's cruel joke, it clicked. 8 years of being treated like dead weight by people living off my generosity, while pretending I didn't exist. What she didn't realize was she'd just lit the fuse on 8 years of proof showing I was actually the most essential person. In that room, I wasn't always invisible. I had big dreams, once engineering, designing bridges, leaving a mark on the skyline. But I traded those dreams to fit in with a family that never wanted me. I was their fixer. Their problems. Need help with contractors? Call Miles. Insurance hassles? Miles will handle it. Tax troubles? Miles knows. I was good at it, truly good. That's how I ended up in Grant Consulting, turning complex problems into solutions and quietly building wealth. But while I built, They measured success by cars and country clubs. I was achieving real things, but because I didn't flaunt it, they thought I wasn't successful at all. My dad was right. Strong men build, they don't boast. But he forgot to say strong men know when to walk away from those who mistake strength for weakness. That night, I realized I'd been wearing a mask so long, I'd forgotten my true face. Bree's joke tore it off. The next Monday, I woke up feeling lighter, freer, like invisible chains had been cut. Tessa was still asleep, probably bracing for the fallout she'd tried to avoid. I canceled every automatic transfer I'd been making for the family. $3,000 for Bree's rent, $1,500 for her insurance, $2,000 for the family emergency fund, and monthly education savings for Tessa's nephew. In less than 10 minutes, 8 years of financial obligation vanished. The silence afterward was beautiful. No frantic calls, no emergencies, just peace. For 3 days, the universe hit pause on everyone else's problems, but then reality came knocking. Calls and texts flooded in from Bree. Confused, frantic. Her rent bounced, her insurance unpaid, her landlord threatening eviction. Tessa called next, tense and worried, begging me to fix the mistake. But I wasn't fixing anything, I told her. I'm done subsidizing ungrateful people. Let her figure it out. Tessa laughed. You're being so dramatic. That laugh said everything. To her, this was a tantrum, a blip before I went back to fixing everything while they ignored me. I wasn't calling the bank. I wasn't fixing anything. I'd given Bree the perfect chance to see what happens when the most useless person stops being useful. The rest of the story, well, it's about taking control and showing them what independence really costs.